Hello, good morning, and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita Sibidi. Now, in our first story, 100 engineers in 10 years. That's the ambitious goal former Deputy Minister Dr. Yao Ejichum has set for the Bosomtwe constituency in the Ashanti region, where he's Member of Parliament. Dr. Ejichum, an educationist of over 2 decades standing, is hoping this initiative will help industrialize the largely agrarian area. The first batch of 30, led by the MP himself, left the constituency Monday morning to the University of Mines and Technology in Tarkwa, with the education fully funded. Justice Beatty was on that bus with them and has sent this report.
Emmanuel Owusu left senior high school in 2019 with aggregate 10. 1 year after he had entered SHS, his father died. His middle-aged mother sold a plot of land, the only property she ever had in her name, so Emmanuel could finish school. Emmanuel had 5 other siblings.
In the senior high school, it wasn't sometimes I have to struggle. Sometimes my friend have to give me money and then those stuff. You have to start off and then learn. It wasn't easy. Yes, it wasn't easy.
It is very tough if you want your child to go to school and yet do not have money. It's a painful situation to be in.
Elsewhere, more than 2 hours drive away, in the village of Bedasi, Jennifer Dankwa, she too, a 2019 SHS graduate, has been waiting to enter university.
I see myself as someone who will be great in the future. So, although I come from the village, but I don't think like a villager. I always think like someone who is higher. So when I told my dad I want to go to school, even this year, if it wasn't the MP, I would have stayed home because there was no money to take me to school, but I was still persistent.
Jennifer and Emmanuel are 2 of 30 people from the Bosomtwe district going to university this year. They are on a special program by the Member of Parliament for the area, Dr. Yao Osei Ejichum. The program seeks to produce 100 engineers over the next 10 years. They are supposed to return to the constituency and bring back their knowledge to work here.
Let's say I complete geological engineering, someone will complete electrical. So we combine our knowledge together to build the constituency first, because we want some people to learn from what we've done. So we will build it, and then when you come here, you will know that yes, this place is engineering constituency.
It's the break of dawn Monday. Most universities are admitting freshmen this week, and today the students on Dr. Ejichum's scholarship are going to school too. The MP has come to have a last-minute pep talk with them before they get on the road together.
This is the journey to Tarkwa, and it is that journey that is going to bear fruits that will transform us. Engineers are solution providers, engineers are problem solvers, and if you have a critical mass of them, then you will see the transformation. And I think one critical thing is the engineering thinking is also critical in every sphere of enterprise. There are in some places where banks are hiring engineers, and it's a field that is very much needed in our nation. When they come back, not only are they going to impact their communities and impact their families, they're also going to impact the nation called Ghana.
Many of the young people on this bus today are traveling outside the Ashanti region, their home region, for the first time ever. It's over 6 hours from some of the villages where they are coming from to Tarkwa, where the University of Mines and Technology is located. But for them, it's a journey worth all their energies. A journey closing the door on one phase of their lives and opening another door on another phase that, with all things being equal, promises to be very exciting.
For this community, I'm going to be the first engineer. So it will help not only for myself, but for the community, because if they are doing anything that need the help, of those of us who are going to study there, we can also contribute and help the community to they can accomplish it with our help.
As these students make their way into UMAT, many look forward to acquiring skills that will change their lives, in the hope that their toils and the investment in their lives will be fruitful for themselves, their families, and Bosomtwe, their home. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Tarkwa, in the Western region.
After the Christmas festivities, Ghana has seen a drastic rise in COVID-19 cases. The rise has proven to be a threat to children who are preparing to return to school, as it is not guaranteed that these schools will properly adhere to the safety protocols. This has left parents worried. Judith Awotretando has been interacting with a parent and has more in this report.
Meet 40-year-old Theresa Brown. She is a mother of 4 and is teaching her children how to wear face masks as schools prepare to reopen.
Anytime you have to wear the nose mask, you sanitize your hand first. What did I say?
Sanitize your hands first.
Good. And then make sure that anytime you are holding a nose mask, you are holding this side of it. Okay. You don't hold here, because you're coming to use this place to cover your nose. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You check both sides. There's the part where it's very hard. It's a bit harder than the other side. That side will come up. So you look at me, will come up, and then you wear it this way.
As a mother, it has been difficult explaining to her children not to hug and shake hands with other children. With COVID-19 cases rising, she is worried about how her children will cope.
The very little one, the one, he's about 7 years old. And sometimes you will see, he will pull his nose mask down. I put it back and I'm tired. I'm just tired. I can't breathe. And you can't do anything about it. You can't say you should remove it because he needs it to protect him. And it's been difficult. It's been difficult trying to get them to come to the realization that this is the life now. This is the norm now. And things has to be done the right way.
Mrs. Brown is encouraging other parents to take nutrition seriously to boost the immune system of their children.
We are looking at even for them building their immune system, because when they go to school, they are not able to eat well. They will leave home very early in the morning, maybe take a little breakfast. And then when they are in school, they have to take their snack, and they have to also take their lunch at school. For me, I prepare the food from the house. And so if the children are not able to eat it at school when it is cold, that will mean that they will go and come back and have not eaten lunch. Cold, because they can't eat. Immune system cannot be built.
She admits the uncertainty of adhering to safety protocols and argues that it is more dependent on parents than teachers to ensure the safety of their children.
Surety, no. I would also not say I'm afraid, because I am not the type who entertain fear. And so we would have to hope that things will go well, and hope that parents will keep on, will not stop educating their children. The teachers can do just a little at school. So the burden is now on the parents to consistently do that.
Learning to live with the virus appears challenging, but until many are vaccinated against the virus, the world would have to learn to deal with a new normal. Judith Awotretando for Joy News.
Meanwhile, Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asieru-Beku, admits there's been a challenge with managing positive cases detected by private labs.
When we brought in the other players, whereby it's more private-led, there's a challenge about linkage of the cases to care. So in that case, it's now being seen as just like a case of malaria. You are diagnosed and that's the end. So that's why we are trying to now further engage the other labs, that you need to link the confirmed case to the health system. But that is how the contact tracing goes on. So that's one challenge we are trying to address. And this week we are going to have a meeting with all the private labs. We apparently went ahead to kind of situate our surveillance officers in some of these labs, but the lab keeps on expanding. So that purpose of identifying contacts and contact tracing is somehow missing because of this new working.
Ghana Health Service, when this challenge first came up, indicated they're going to meet with the private lab, labs, because you realized that was a challenge. 1 month down the line, we're still talking about meeting with them.
No. I think that maybe you have to listen to what I said. Now, almost every other week, we have a new private lab being opened. So as they open, then they need to have more engagement. And clearly, as I said, so if you look at places like Yahoo and MDS Lancet and the rest, we actually engage them on a regular basis, focusing on the linkage together.
So Raymond, for instance, tested at Noguchi. Noguchi had been doing the test all this while. Are we saying that linking hasn't been done all because Noguchi has been testing, and here's a case where nobody in his household has been contact traced ever since he, contracted COVID-19.
The selection of Member of Parliament for Fomena as second Deputy Speaker has gotten his constituents elated. Andrew Amakwa Asiamah, the only independent candidate, apart from wielding the casting vote in the House that's equally split between the NDC and MPP, will act in the event that the Speaker and his deputy are not in the chair. But even before lawyer Asiamah gets to work, his constituents are expecting him to use his influence to complete ongoing projects and ensure communities have good roads, water and schools. Prince Apia has more in this report.
The Member of Parliament for Fomena constituency, lawyer Andrews Asiamah, is now the second Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament. His constituents say they were enthused when they heard about his current position.
We are happy that our MP is being elected as an independent candidate, being elected as the second Deputy Speaker.
I was much happy, more than happy, because we were not expecting such a position to be given to Andrew Amakwa. But lo and behold, the Lord has been so good, because Asiamah has been one of these persons we can say is a divine creature for Adanse Fomena and the whole Adanse mine.
Though they believe he is hardworking, they never expected he would rise to such a position.
No Fomena MP has ever been even a deputy minister, also second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. So we were very happy. We are in joyous mode, and we thank God for this.
The Fomena constituents, however, say lawyer Asiamah should not allow this position to deprive them of their development needs.
Yes, we expect him to complete the developmental projects that he began in his first term, and also begin new ones, construction of our roads. Our roads are very bad. In fact, they are very, very bad. They are in a deplorable state. So we are expecting that he will help in the construction of those roads. He will also help in the extension of electricity as he began in his first term.
Among concerns is access to basic educational infrastructure.
Our roads are not good, and even some villages are not having schools. They walk with a distance before they get to a school. So now that our MP is the Speaker, we are praying that he can serve the constituency where they are not having schools, the rough roads and the rest. He will help us to get proper roads. Now, as I said, when you come to Akokere, for instance, Akokere is a big town, but Akokere is not having a hospital. Yeah, so when someone is sick, when you go to the clinic, they will tell you to send the person to Obuasi. And sending the person to Obuasi, if you are not like, the person will die.
The constituency is expecting so much from him. Look at the community, and even look in the surroundings. You know, there are a lot of things that we need. Roads, water, schools, and the rest.
Mr. Mwakon Asiamah is the incumbent MP for Fomena and entered Parliament on the ticket of the NPP. He, however, recontested his seat as an independent candidate and won. Prince Apia.
Leader of the National Democratic Congress in Parliament, Haruna Iddrisu, is worried about why ministers who are yet to be passed by Parliament are acting in various capacities already. His concern follows the President's instruction to some ministers who served in his first term to continue in acting positions. These former ministers include Ken Ofori-Atta, who was the Minister for Finance, Alan Chirmanteng, who was the Minister for Trade and the Minister for Local Government, Haja Alima Mahama, and former Information Minister, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. He's been speaking to Daniel Dazi.
I've seen some ministers still hold themselves about as if they are ministers. That is unlawful, that is illegal, that is unconstitutional. As we speak today, there is no minister in Ghana.
And therefore, has asked them to act.
No. There is not. No, he got it wrong. Go and read the Succinct ruling in J. Mensah versus Attorney General, 1997, Supreme Court ruling. Their mandate have lapsed. Until they are nominated, go through vetting, prior approval of Parliament, they cannot hold themselves out as ministers. The same J. Mensah of New Patriotic Party questioned it when Kwame Pepe and Co were asked to follow through. So, I mean, there's a Presidential Transition Act. The president must be law-abiding, rule of law. As far as we are concerned, there's nothing like acting minister. The Supreme Court ruling does not recognize an acting minister.
So what will the minority do about
And I say the Supreme Court ruling, J. Mensah versus Attorney General, I have a copy I'll read to you, does not recognize any person purporting to hold himself as minister and wanting to exercise the authority and mandate of a minister. Their time have lapsed. That is why it's interesting. What happened in Parliament, we saw some ministers are being pointed that they gave command to soldiers or military or police at that material time at midnight. There was no minister for defense, there was no minister for interior. Whoever gave that authority acted unlawfully and would hold him accountable to that.
So you're going to
follow
follow
authority.
The hearing
I say there will be an inquiry to understand some people's conduct and whether that conduct is acceptable in a democracy, that a sitting member of Parliament can run away and even swallow ballot papers already thumb-printed.
So, Mr. Idrisu, what specific action is your side of Parliament going to do, and your party going to do, about the President's directive to the ministers to act?
The President is wrong in law, and his conduct is unconstitutional. He should be the last person to be acting in breach of the law, particularly when the Supreme Court ruling in J. Mensah versus Attorney General 1997 said that there can be no minister, and there's nothing like a holding minister until that minister is nominated with the prior approval of Parliament. I'm not aware that Parliament has approved any person to hold himself. What the Presidential Transition Act provides is that you hand over to the heads of bureaucracy, the chief directors, to run it until side time that ministers are properly vetted. But you cannot say they should go and hold on to it. So you see MPP, double tongue. In 1997, they saw everything wrong with it. Now that they are in power, bless you, God.
But I remember that in 2016...
And that's how we end the AM News with me, Mapito Sibidi.
Well, welcome on the news review leg of the show. This is where we dig into the papers and bring you news from Ghana and across the world. Good morning, Mama.
Yeah, good morning. I'm still not feeling you. You know, you're still not 100%. Like, what can we do to make you feel better?
Some
coffee, tea?
Time,
eh? You don't want tea? I want to serve you.
Well, maybe some tea wouldn't be bad.
Okay.
Some tea wouldn't be bad.
Echo, please, tea. Okay, good morning.
the way you called him, as though he were butler or something. I know. That, by the way, is our big man on the show, our producer, our excellence.
But when you are the one on air, he kind of has to serve you.
Oh, no.
I'm just taking advantage of it.
If we'll do tea or anything, it will be after the show. Anyway.
Thanks for joining us. If you just tuned in, this is the AM show. Of course, you missed the news with Mapito Sibidi, but you made it in good time. We're about just reviewing the local papers for you. We'll touch base also with our news portal, myjoyonline.com, and hopefully we can check out what's making headlines internationally. But before we start with the newspapers, I have a very special man that I want to celebrate on the AM show this day. A man that has blessed me. I'm not sure he even knows that because he has an amazing son who has blessed me in many ways. I want to celebrate Brother Williams. William Ollins Odro. He's late president of the Methodist Church, but he's also vice president of the Ghana Bar Association, a member of the National Media Commission since 2015. He's an incredible man. Mr. William Ollins Odro, late president, Methodist Church. He was elected recently. And if you know him and you don't know this, kindly give him a call and say congratulations. Wherever you are, sir, I hope that you have a very good day. I wish you well with the new designation, Mr. William Ollins Odro. Okay.
Well, Mr. Odro, we wish you well. Though you may not have touched us like you touched Mama V, but you never know. Maybe someone close to you.
He doesn't even know that he has touched me.
Well, I guess that's the bit, though. People who really impact lives, oftentimes they don't even know how many people whose lives they're impacting.
Yeah.
And that's why the blessings continue to flow. So
yeah.
We pray for him.
This will be
If
such
you're
a
touching Mama V,
surprise.
in fact, come to think of it, if you're touching Mama V's life, then you are, inevitably touching my life. Because we're on the show together, so.
Absolutely. Listen, he has an incredible son called William, and I'm happy to be his, called Andrew, and I'm happy to be his friend. Right. And his father has an incredible story, and I hope that someday he would, be kind enough to me to share his story, because it will be such a privilege, really. Wow. And all of us will learn something from that incredible story of his.
As an author, I think this is where I believe many people, leave us with those stories. I feel you can immortalize those stories by putting them down in books. I've been encouraging a lot of key personalities, in this country, some of whom I've written stuff for, that look, don't go with the stuff. Share it. So I think it's a challenge we're throwing to.
I chose to, and with the permission of Andrew, I chose to celebrate him on the AM show today. Yeah. So, okay, listen. There's also something else, Ben, that I want to talk about. I still can't believe today is what, 12th of January?
The 12th, yeah.
I still can't believe that in 2021 on the 6th and on the 7th, our parliamentarians did what they did. Like, I still can't think far. And I can't forget it. Like, I can't move on. Because it still keeps playing, like, all those moments, all those low moments, it keeps playing back in my mind. And so when I hear, when I was listening to Haruna Idrisu, I think that's where it all came. And then I was like, I still can't believe that we're here. And I couldn't be thinking about what he was saying. I was just thinking about what they did in Parliament. Can't go past that.
I mean, I listened to Muntaka as well on the probe, and I couldn't even comprehend, so to speak, some of the assumptions that were made or justifications that were offered, and even some bits of information that was added about, a Supreme Court judge, this and all of that. I think I'll just stay out of that fray for now. But I think it has rubbed off all of us so badly, and I think why, I don't know about you, but why people like me would feel it is even more shocking, egregious, is that so far no one even wants to take responsibility, proper responsibility for what happened. You ask MPs from this side, oh, it's a bad thing. MPs from that side, oh, it's a bad thing. But what are we doing to those who were involved? We talk about the fact that in the standing orders, arms are not supposed to be taken into Parliament. We had the military in Parliament. Who ordered it? We still can't get to the bottom of that. You ask the military, they tell you this. You ask the Defense Ministry, Interior, they tell you that. Chief of Staff, this, that. So, in other words, when this happens, it means our lawmakers themselves are not willing to get to the bottom of the matter and show some good faith and say, look, we urge, we did this person did that, that person, let's move on. But if you just tell us, oh no, it has happened, let's move on.
We ain't moving on.
I mean, how do we move on?
We're not moving on. Who says we're moving on?
Because there's no closure.
We just showed some of the videos, and I think Patrick took it off when it got to the ballot snatching. Like seriously, that happened in Parliament? Like, seriously, Ben?
I've always said
Did a member of Parliament actually snatch ballot papers and run off with it?
We talk about ballot boxes being snatched, ballot papers being snatched, and all of that.
Yeah.
But I believe this is like the worst we can see for it to happen in Parliament.
And the bit about the chair being pulled off from Eslo. So that's also one of the lowest moment. I mean, all are low moments, but the lowest. I mean, you never do a thing like that. You never do a thing like that. There's a human being, there's a lady seated on a chair,
come to think
and then
of it.
you just yank the chair off her. Like, how do you do that? And you're a man. You get what I mean?
I do. I mean, it's not good whether it's male or female, but especially when it's a woman.
It's a woman sitting on the chair, like no matter what, okay? And then he just yanks the thing off.
I guess it got, because I'm not justifying this, but she also got a bit aggressive, you know, pushing, shoving, she fell to her knees and all of that. But I'm saying that it's no justification. No matter what she may have done,
you don't pull a chair off a woman. I mean, I can imagine, like, I'm seated here right now, and then Ben, you just get up and you just, Charlie, who does that?
You remember I told you that after the presidential inauguration, you know, the swearing in of the president, I went and spoke to her. I mean, usually we've had our moments, you know, good and bad, but I went to her and she just looked drained. She couldn't even speak.
I heard that.
She couldn't speak.
I heard that.
And she just told me, oh, Ben, this one, next. I mean, the voice in which she was even speaking, it wasn't just the fact that her party had not got the speech. I don't think, it wasn't just that. Something had come out.
She was drained there. But listen, whilst I highlight on that and I condemn that, like, it's not gentlemanly to do that. Like, you don't teach your children to do that, and then you do it, as in take a chair of a woman. I think the shoving of Collins Dowder. I mean, he's a total gentleman, I tell you. A total gentleman.
He
out of
did
the episode,
not
he's a gentleman.
react.
Yeah. Okay, man, listen, we can talk about Parliament for the next 30 minutes, but listen, we want to do the newspapers. We don't want to spend all of our time on bad examples that they set for us, but we won't stop talking about it because they have to feel what they did. They have to begin to reflect and apologize to the entire nation. I've got the Ghanaian Times. I'm going to say the Daily Times. We don't have a Daily Times in this country. We've got a Ghanaian Times.
Well, the Ghanaian Times comes out daily anyway.
All right, do you want me to go?
I thought he would go through, so you said the Ghanaian Times?
Oh, yes, I said the Times Finder and Daily Guide.
Right, so I have the Daily Graphic, Daily Dispatch, the Punch, I should say, and then the Daily Statesman.
All right, let's start with the Ghanaian Times on the front page. Be tough with corruption in second term. That's from Professor Bawole. Nana Fitz calls for truce between NPP and NDC. We ain't moving on, sir. We've got to really discuss the issues. Mass disinfection fumigation in over 6,000 basic schools begin. Coca-Cola ICU tango over layoffs. NLC to rule on issue on Wednesday. Now, this is one certainly of interest. Details, page 15. It says the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union has dragged the Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Ghana Limited to the National Labour Commission over the alleged lockouts of 30 employees. They're part of 55 others declared redundant on December 31st, 2020, under an exercise by the company to remodel its operations to remain profitable, among other objectives in the West African sub-region. Some of the employees had worked for 20 years, while others have been engaged for a few months. The exercise had become necessary in view of challenges including the coronavirus disease facing the beverage giants. Okay. When the Ghanaian Times got to the factory at 10:30 a.m., all was calm and the police vehicle was parked at the entrance. Okay, so there was this brouhaha earlier. The affected employees stormed the factory premises on the Spintex Road to demand that they should be allowed to work as they were yet to be paid their severance package. Under the seeming confusion, security of the factory called in the Bachona Divisional Police to maintain law and order. Okay, so just how things have become really at the company is what is being told in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. That's how far we've come. On page 3, you'd see the crime-related stories. 2 grabbed for attempting to smuggle weed into prison. They've been apprehended by the Ankafo Maximum Security Prisons for attempting to smuggle 15 parcels of Indian hemp to an inmate at the prisons. You know what I'm thinking, Ben? When you commit a crime like in a place like that, they shouldn't take you through any process. You're already in prison. It's because you like the place. That's why you try to commit crime there.
The system addresses each one, and you know that as much as I do, differently. So you'll have to go through the process again to ensure that you get the top up.
A very painful, slow system sometimes. There's an update on the Dr. Oponing case. It says Dr. Oponing 271.3 million Ghana cedis financial loss case. Agricult sold fertilizer to Cocoa Board, according to a witness. If you've been following this case, that you might want to catch up. Also, watchman arrested in connection with Satsimadza Kliko gas station attack. Okay, I'm not sure I said that right. But this is the Keta MP. Remember yesterday when we were reviewing the stories, we shared with you how he had been attacked again. Well, a filling station belonging to him what was robbed, essentially. And it says the watchman there has been arrested. The rest of it is in the paper. Let's see, back page. Kwame Opoku's breaks liberty. No. Israeli embassy supports 8 entrepreneurs and health facilities. In the center spread, be tough with corruption. That story is here. Minister sponsors 30 brilliant needy students at UMass. But as you heard there from Haruna Idrisu, we don't have ministers. Support speaker to push nation's development agenda. That's a call to Techiman residents. Okay, no. And then Tewu threatens withdrawal of services. Teachers and Educational Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress Ghana has said its members will withdraw their services when school reopens. According to Tewu, its stance is based on the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to review the conditions of service for the unionized staff of public universities. Tewu, in a press statement jointly signed by the General Secretary, National Chairman, and copied to the Ghanaian Times, said the conditions of service for unionized staff of the public universities expired in 2008, and since then, a new one has not been negotiated. So since June 19, 2019, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission had not been able to conduct negotiations with Tewu. That's the thing. Even when schools were shut and nothing was happening, they couldn't take advantage to close some of these issues. Now they are saying that when schools reopen, schools are reopening. In fact, some schools have reopened already. Friday, Monday, almost all the schools will go back. That's when they say they will withdraw their services. So we're back to square one. It's been our story. That's how it's been the whole time.
But Mama V, I will not let you get away with this. How come Kotoko, Opoku nets a brace, and you just take a swipe at the story? In fact, you read the headline once, you see Kotoko, you... Ajimbi. You did the same thing with Leeds, and you see where Man United is now. You're doing it to Kotoko. Let's get into the daily graphic.
Can we just talk about Kotoko?
Pardon me. 2021 Year of Enforcement Standards Authority bears teeth. And the teeth that they're bearing, well, basically the Director General, Professor Alex Dodo, is saying that the GSA has developed more than 4,000 standards on almost every item and food product, including buildings, roads, hospital equipment, electrical cables, appliances, school uniforms. Guess what? School uniforms, Kenke and Sobolo. All of them are in there. And so the slippages in the system supposedly are going to be taken care of. So that's a good development. On page 20, targeting 100% electricity access, bold move. Let's quickly delve into that before I come back to something on page 17. So some energy think tanks have been responding to what His Excellency the President said with regard to extending electricity access. And let me just get... So in the estimation of the Institute of Energy Security, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, and the Institute of Energy Policies and Research, the huge cost implications and the historical antecedent in the country's energy sector were pointers to an uphill task in achieving that target. Additionally, they said the 4-year deadline for adding 15% to achieve the 100% electricity access required significant policy reshaping, prudent investment, and private sector participation. Already, we owe these independent power producers, and there's all that back and forth. I do not know, but of course we can dream. Dreaming as a country is not a bad thing. Whether we can actualize the dream is another thing, like they're pointing out here. Policy, investment, private sector engagement, whether we can get it right. Do you remember last year we read that story? I remember, I've forgotten whether it's the Daily Statesman or one of those papers, capturing a place where supposedly for 500 years, that's what the story said, they had not had electricity. It was only last year that they had got electricity.
I remember that.
So I'm just wondering what will happen here. But on page 17, what we were talking about, what we kickstarted the review with, the parliamentary melee, AFAG, the Alliance for Accountable Governance, is also calling for an independent investigation into the incidents leading to the election of the Speaker of Parliament on January 7. It mentioned the assault on a female member of Parliament, the snatching and chewing of ballot papers, among others. So there are some bodies also, you know,
my confidence is in the fact that we've got a speaker who doesn't belong to the governing party. So we know that something will happen. Otherwise, most of the time, I mean, in the past, probably have some committee like that be set up and then you don't even see the head or tail of it. But I'm confident in the kind of speaker that we have. So,
so
let's wait for Friday.
I'll just wrap on these two very quickly. We spoke recently about the Abuabo fire incident. Now, the police have picked up 2 suspects in connection with that. The suspects whose identities are being withheld for security reasons are currently in police custody, assisting with investigations. And this final one, I've noticed has become a trend. You know those LED lamps? A lot of people are now using them. They are way brighter, more shiny, and I don't know whether you've noticed, in their cars. So they take off their normal, you would see that on the road, especially at night. Some of them are that. So a lot of people don't know, but the National Road Safety Authority is warning that these are not meant to be used. In fact, they flout the regulations. The authority says the fixing of LED lamps has become a fashion, posing a serious threat. And
it's too bright, like
exactly. And in spite of the admonition, some vehicle owners and commercial drivers have been using it. You know, I was at the DVLA some time back, and a lot of them, you see those who sell different things, whatever you want in that neighborhood, and they were offering these. I told them no, but others have been patronizing them. So if you didn't know, they are illegal, so to speak. Don't patronize them. You could actually be harming other people on the road. Let's have another story.
Quickly to the finder on the front page, something that happened today, yesterday, I beg your pardon, the One Ghana movement, UPSA Law School, and of course, Joy News and Joy FM. The stories here, political science inevitable when elections threaten livelihoods, says Dean of the Faculty of Law at the UPSA at the One Ghana lecture series, Kofi Abochi. Details there on page 9. Traders in Accra express mixed expectations on reopening of schools. That's on our table today. As the time draws close now, I'm thinking, am I making the best decision in sending my children back to school? TUC calls for more job creation initiatives, pledges support for governments. And then COVID-19 ravages wood carving business. And there's, Ben, maybe you can help me. Chai Century Henyu Group, not licensed at Capital
this one
Company. I've been struggling
it's either
with
Chinese or something, so I think you can freestyle with it.
Well, it's and when we go to my John line, you'd see that we also have that story as our main headline, because you know the Securities and Exchange Commission is warning the general public and investing public really to beware of this investment firm that I'm struggling to even mention their name. It says that they are not licensed, as in the Securities and Exchange Commission has not licensed the firm to carry out any capital market activity, including investing or trading for returns as mandated by Section 3 of the Securities Industry Act. As such, Shai Century Henry Group cannot operate as an investment firm. Basically, that's what the story. Remember, Men's Gold started off just like this.
That's exactly what came to mind. And I was about to say we are back to this again.
My only issue is that if they are not licensed, then why do they even exist? Take them off the market. You get what I mean?
I'm thinking exactly.
Because how many people would see the statement that you've issued? They're giving us their phone numbers, which is good that people should call. But you know how things work in this country.
Yeah.
You can't rely on this. So if they're not supposed to operate, then why are they there?
Yeah.
Just kick them off.
I mean, it reminds me of, when Men's Gold had the Men's Bank sort of setup. All these things confuse people. And you don't want that to happen. In fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission, you must ensure that they don't even get out there to confuse people, because some people, like you're saying, how many Ghanaians read the papers?
You're saying you're putting people on notice. That's English. You issued a certain statement, but maybe they are not the ones to take them off the market, but we have so many other state institutions. Otherwise, I know I'm not licensed, but I'm operating. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's not like a lawless country where you can just get up and come and set up and do it, and then the regulator will say he's not licensed, so don't do business with him. Meanwhile, he's still on the market. You get what I mean? Like it doesn't add up. It's not enough to say, I've served you notice. You get what I mean? Yeah. You can't sing fire.
I can't.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Too.
Well, the Daily Dispatch, very quickly, campaigns for Alan and Bawumia towards MPP's 2024 slot not healthy now, Kennedy Japan wants. There have been things put out there from time to time with regard to, who would lead the NPP in 2024. It appears that a pot of water is beginning to boil, but Kennedy Japan, I said I'd say Kennedy has become very, I wouldn't say docile, but very calm, at least following what happened in Parliament. But we only need to see him on TV. No, I can't. Anyway, he's suggesting here that it's too early and that members of the party should desist from the campaign activities they have started for their preferred personalities. You know that he himself has been spoken of in the past with regard to leading the party, but I also recall his saying that he didn't want that capacity. He just wants contracts. He's interested in the money. There's a story on the back page. Father of Jinapos opens up about his NPP and NDC sons, gives credit to his wife. That's a story you might want to check out. Interesting one there. And again, mass disinfection and fumigation for over 6,000 basic schools in Greater Accra starts. That's on page 11.
All right, let's do the Daily Guide. There's a story that is not so pleasant. You'd find the headline on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. It says diplomat found dead in room. This happened in Cantonment, and I will share a bit of details. But also on the front page, ministers list pops up. Shall we go through some of the names? Well, their pictures are right there, so you can see Matthew Opoko Prempe, Kujapon Kroma Godfrey Adame, John Peter Amewu, and the story says a relatively slim government will be the feature of President Akufo-Addo's administration, according to what they've gathered. Chief of Staff Akosua Frema Oseyo Pare is retaining her position, having been issuing directives on behalf of the president since his swearing in. She will this time be working with fresh faces as her previous two deputies go to Parliament. Making a bounce back into the government is the former General Secretary Kwabena Agyapong. Oh, okay. Somebody asked about him recently. Who'd be appointed as one of the deputy chiefs of staff. That's what they're saying. Michael Oforiatta, a diplomat, would also take the other vacant position. Atachia could be heading for the Environment Ministry as its minister. Nana Bedietu Asante, who served as the secretary to the president in the first term, would definitely retain his position, according to the story. Let's see, page 6. Real quick, where are we? And then, where's the rest of the story? There has been a heightened clamoring for positions by party members, some of them doing so through influential personalities within the ruling party, traditional rulers and prominent clergymen. All fine. So you can go through the list. But listen, I don't know much about these things, but what I do know is that if you lobby, the pressure that they will bring on you when you finally get the position, you will regret even lobbying to get the position. Sit here somewhere if you get the appointment so you can work freely. But it's not easy, as I have said it. This other story,
but
Ben,
I've heard some things
diplomats...
about some ministries being merged and suggestions. For example, the Business Development Ministry, Honorable Awal, being merged with the Trades Ministry and all of that. I mean, time will tell, but I feel indeed some of those should be merged. Transport, aviation, and all of that. That's something I am looking forward to.
Yeah, okay. So this story about, so that's Ghana's consul to Serbia. His name, Stephen Mawinyaga. He was found dead in his room at cantonment in Accra. And the story tells how his daughter, who had not heard from him in 63 years, by the way, contacted the cantonment police station, reported to the cantonment police station, and then around 1 a.m. yesterday morning, the police received information about the demise of the government representative to Serbia in his room. The information had it that the deceased daughter had called her father several times without response. She tried reaching out to her father on phone 3 days ago, but to no avail, and therefore proceeded to the house to find out what was happening. And so it leads to how, they realized that body was lifeless, essentially.
Right.
He had died. So the Accra Regional Police Public Relations Officer says that the police received information from the daughter, essentially going back. The body had been deposited at the police hospital morgue for autopsy while investigations into the matter continue. That's a very sad, heartbreaking one. Yeah.
So I just want to chip in this bit from Twitter. We're trending, by the way, at number 9, the AM show. But also trending is Free Bulldog Now.
Has he truly been arrested? I thought it was fake news.
Twitter is talking about it, and a lot of people are actually talking about it. So it's something that we likely have to delve into. Some accusations of the media. Che, for example, says, as the media people are pretending they've not seen Bulldogs been arrested, they shouldn't do any videos for us when the police searches them. So a lot of people talking about that. Is actually trending at number 2, I believe, on Twitter. So something to delve into.
Okay, maybe later on. There's a story about an 18-year-old who faked her kidnap to demand ransom from
the 1,000 CD one.
To demand ransom from parents. Maybe tomorrow we can highlight on that.
I think it was in one of the papers yesterday.
I missed it, but I've seen it in the Daily Guide newspaper. Okay, well, if you're interested in any of the stories that we've told you from the newspapers, kindly go to the newsstands and grab the papers. You can go to myjoyonline.com. We have lots of stories there as well for you.
Well, it's time now for sports, and like it or not, Mamavi is going to be hearing about my Kumasi, Krabia Kumasi Asante Kotoko. That's up next.
Really?
Hello, good morning, and thank you for staying with us on the AM show. I'm Gary Al Smith. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's do the sport, beginning with boxing, because former trainer of Ikwoti, Daniel Okodampton, wants Ghanaian boxers to be assessed before they accept fights in international bouts. Now, according to him, most boxers appear ill-prepared for their encounters. And here's more detail on that from my colleague Muftar Nabla Abdullahi.
Recent times, boxing promoters have put in enough effort to ensure boxers have a platform to hone their talent. Ghana's renowned boxing trainer Daniel Okodampton, who led Ag Bazooka Korte to win a world title in 1994, has praised the boxing promoters for the effort they've put into building the sport.
Promotions, I think people are doing really well. If you think about, you promote, you don't get nothing out of it. It's not like US that maybe the TV can help, or the fighters. What they do in the US now is fighters have to sell tickets. They have to put you on the card. You have to sell tickets, for the promoter to get some money. So maybe they promote the fight and they give you 50 tickets. Every fighter they give you tickets to sell. Some can sell 100. Some the crowd pullers can sell more. You know, so they are always on the card. You know, so they give you a ticket to sell, and then the promoter can get his money back. But here, there's no way you can do that. Even if you charge 2 cities, only few people will pay.
Yeah.
You know, only few people will pay. I understand that. You know, because you know how this is where I come from. I know how it works here. You know. So they're doing well, very good with promotions. They're doing very, very well.
Many Ghanaian boxers struggle to compete against the best continentally and at the global level. Oko Odaminthin wants boxers to be assessed before they accept fights beyond the shores of the country.
It's just sad to see, you know, like sometimes, you know, you stay and then watch the fight, or sometimes you buy it, you watch it, and then they show no resistance at all. First, second round, and they're out. So for me, I think they should take a little time. You know, there should be somebody to assess them to make sure they're ready. You know, they shouldn't be bringing them like that. You know, they're putting us our name in a bad place.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
Daminthin is one of the most revered boxing trainers in the country after the success chalked with Ike Corty in 1994.
Let's go to football because the Ghana Premier League match day 8 is done, and the game to finish it was between Asante Kotoko and Liberty Professionals. The Porcupine Warriors won by 2-0. Leading Liberty coach David Oklu to give an input as to why this happened. He claims that the departure of some members of his team caused their loss.
It's unfortunate. I think my boys, the inexperience showed today a lot. But I think we'll go back and right the wrongs and we move forward.
Was it an issue of fear for your players against a team like Kotoko?
I wouldn't say fear. But if you could say we've been playing 4-2-3-1. But we lost some important players, about 2 midfielders. One, we lost one through yellow cards, we lost one to a Tunisian team this week. So it's like we changed the system a bit to suit the players we have, but it did not work.
So obviously missing key players, and that could be an advantage. Now, how do you recover from this one going forward?
Oh, I think I just have to see how best I can motivate them to know they can still play.
So as you were speaking, you saw the highlights there. 2 goals from Kwame Poku, which takes him up in the top scorers chart. More about that in a second. Let's check out the Premier League standings as at match day 8. And at the top, there's 2 teams on 15 points. However, you know that in the Ghana Premier League, head-to-head is applied at the end of the season. So as we speak, Ashgold are top after 8 games, 15 points. Bechem, 15 points as well. Karela United, after losing at the weekend to 11 Wonders, are 3rd on the table. Wafa are 4th, Hearts are 5th, Asante Kotoko are 6th. However, Asante Kotoko have played 1 game less than Hearts of Oak. 7th are Great Olympics, who are having a good season. 11 Wonders quietly effective on 10. And then see the number of teams in 10th. 11 Wonders, Adriana Stars, Mediama SC, Liberty Professionals, and Elmina Sharks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Makes it very dicey. And must win games for all those 5 teams. Not far behind them are Brekum Chelsea, who together with Dreams FC are on 9 points apiece. Dwarfs are on 8. Inter Allies are 16th on 7th. Legon City is on 6th. And on 6 points, King Faisal, same number, but, goal difference issues. Now, let's check the top scorers of the Ghana Premier League. Daniel Lomotiaglu of Wafa has 7 goals. And interestingly, he scored all 7 goals in only 2 games. He scored a hat-trick in 1 game and then 4 goals in 1 game. While the others, took their time. There we see Taylor scored the 6 goals over a number of games. Kwame Poku has scored 5 goals in 6 games. And Hans Kofi has scored 4 in 5. Remember, he was injured and was out of a game as well. He was out of 2 games. So that's the way the top scorer crumbles, 7, 6, 5, and 4. Ghana Premier League more interesting as the day goes. And one of the teams that we'll be looking out for, obviously, because they are in Africa and also because they are gunning for the Ghana Premier League, is Asante Kotoko. They'll be playing against the Tan Setif of Algeria on Valentine's Day. But ahead of that, they have been admonished by experienced football administrator Kofi Manu not to seek redress from the Court of Arbitration for Sport after they were kicked out of the CAF Champions League. Our Joy Sports' Elon Benaya has the rest of the story.
The Porcupine Warriors are heading to CAS after failing aggrieved due to their CAF Champions League exit by Al Hilal. The club failed to raise 15 players for the game against the Sudanese club after 7 of their players tested positive. Kotoko believe the COVID-19 test results were tampered with. Renowned football administrator Kofi Manu urges Kotoko to focus on the Confederations Cup. Kotoko have been drawn against ES Setif of Algeria. The first leg encounter of the tie comes off on Sunday, February 14. Asante Kotoko.
In football, we have rules and regulations. And unfortunately for Kotoko, Kotoko had benefited from such a decision. And what people forget is that Kotoko and Mauritania, the Mauritanians had a second opinion about the status of their players. They went to, whilst the official of the GFA took them to a medical center, they were tested and it came positive. They had also taken one step ahead of them and had gone to a recognized medical center in Ghana to have a second opinion, and it came negative. That brought the argument on the first day of the match. So they had to say that now we will ignore all the 2 test reports the following morning. The following morning, they were supposed to go and pick these guys around 8 o'clock to the hospital. They didn't. The FA didn't do it. Kotoko had to go around 11 o'clock. So when they went for the test, the results delayed. Regardless of that, CAF said no. If it has delayed, it is your problem. So CAF declared Kotoko to go ahead. So when Kotoko went there and they had that problem and they could not raise a team, it was the same rule that CAF used to eliminate them from. So I think that instead of them spending money to go to CAS and all those things, they have the opportunity, another opportunity to play in the Confederation Cup.
Away from Ghana, let's check out what's happening in the English FA Cup. You know, the 4th round draw is done. The top liner is the game involving, drumroll, Man United and Liverpool. Yep. And there's also Cheltenham versus Man City. The claim is that Man City always get the cheap draws in the various competitions. Bournemouth versus Crawley. Swansea versus Nottingham Forest. So we'll see Andre Ayew in action, having a good season already. Southampton or Shrewsbury will play, and then the winner of that tie will play against the rising Arsenal. Barnsley play Norwich, Chorley play Wolves, and Millwall, the infamous or famous Millwall, will play against Bristol City. That's the 4th round for you. Brighton, where we have a Ghanaian, of course, will play versus Blackpool, Richard Kinson's former team. Wycombe will play Tottenham Hotspur, who have just had a very historic game against the Marine. Fulham will be playing Burnley. Sheffield United, getting their first win in a long time in the last round, will be playing Plymouth. And Chelsea will play Luton. Stockport or West Ham will play, and then the winner of that game play Doncaster. Brentford, where there's another Ghanaian in Tariq Fosu, will play Leicester, where there's another Ghanaian in Daniel Amati, play Everton versus Sheffield Wednesday. So quite the Ghanaian elements bit in the 4th round of the FA Cup. And we finished with this interesting story. You may have heard of him, Kazuyoshi Miura. He's the oldest scorer in Japanese professional football. He has signed another 1-year contract to extend his deal, and that will take him to 53 years old by the time he's done. There's more in this report.
Miura, who turns 54 on February 26, will enter his 36th season after signing an extension with J-League club Yokohama FC on Monday. Nicknamed Kinkazu, Miura played in only 4 league games last year and did not score, but extended his record as the oldest player in the J-League. Miura joined Yokohama in the Japanese top flight in 2005 and will continue to represent the club during the 2021 season, which is scheduled to begin on February 27. The new contract was announced on Twitter, with the J-League writing "Return of the King" alongside his picture. In March 2017, Miura became the oldest player to appear in a professional match at the age of 50 years and 7 days, catching global media attention by surpassing England great Stanley Matthews' longevity record. Miura played for Brazilian club Santos and in Italy with Genoa earlier in his career and represented Japan's national team 89 times, scoring 55 goals.
I'm sure medical will say a time for low battery, but Miura still charging or something like that. I'm Gary Al Smith, that's the sport. Remember to follow our programs throughout the day, and also we have more coming on IGOnline.com. Thank you for your time and keep watching The AM Show.
Hello there, welcome back on The AM Show. And if you're joining us, for the first time this morning, well, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for making us your channel of choice. Now, we're going to be discoursing on a number of matters this morning, including the reopening of schools. Now, the Ghana Education Service is going to be speaking on measures to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Yes, the spraying exercises have started and all of that, but what does the GES have to tell us on that beat? It's a one-on-one with the Deputy Director General of the GES, Anthony Boateng Esquire. He's a Deputy Director General of the GES. Also on the beat of elections, the petition out there, parliamentary candidates have been challenging results in the Techiman South constituency. We're going to be discoursing on that matter as well. Techiman South and Kintampo North, to be specific. And our guests, Martin Kpebu, a lawyer, Justice Abdullahi, also a lawyer. They're going to be walking us through what we need to know with regard to these petitions. But don't you forget, the AM Show is brought to you courtesy of Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, a wholly owned Ghanaian company with over 15 years experience. Our affiliate company, Elegant Home Products Limited, fabricates and sells high-quality UPVC windows and door profiles from Turkey, plasterboards, cornices, gypsum adhesives, and accessories. We have luxury residential properties in prime areas such as East Legon, and we also construct properties in other parts of Ghana. Elegant Homes is now selling 3, 4, 5-bedroom executive detached houses in its gated community, Elegant Courts at Katamanso, off the Adenta Dodowa Road right here in Accra. The project has solar street lights, underground sewer systems, 24/7 security, tarred roads, constant flow of water, estate management services, and a recreational area with a tennis court, playground, swimming pool, and many shops. Clients have the option of choosing from a wide range of architectural designs and have it modified for them. You can also request for tailor-made services where we build to suit your individual taste. Our houses are built to the highest standards, and we ensure that the finest of materials are used to give you excellence, luxury, beauty, and value for your money. Our properties can be located in East Legon and Elegant Courts at Katamanso. So the call numbers 0244 699 053, 0248 974 428. Alternatively, you can call 0576 597 419. Elegant Courts, you need to check them out, give them a ring, and get that dream home you've been looking for. Now, on the beat of the post-electoral petitions, parliamentary candidates, as I intimated earlier, in the Techiman South and Kintampo North constituencies have been, discoursing on this matter. It's become a court issue. Joining us for that discussion, Martin Kpebu, who's actually a lawyer, and Justice Abdullahi, also a lawyer. Well, let me say a very good morning to these two gentlemen who actually join us. So let's start with Mr. Kpebu. Mr. Kpebu, a very good morning. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Akaku, Benjamin.
Yes, it's always great to discourse with you. Now, as we kickstart the conversation, I would just like you to share with all of us some of the latest action that has characterized this petition in court on those two areas, Techiman South, Kintampo North, just to set the pace for the conversation.
I lost a bit to characterize the case.
So I'm saying that give us some of the underlying issues that have characterized these two petitions in recent times before we get into the nitty-gritty of, you know, the petitions themselves.
Oh, I think the basic, well, I'm not sure I quite understand. Sometimes you have to break down the question. Is it in respect of the issue that...
In respect of the two petitions, the underlying circumstances.
Oh, the fact... Ben, you're going to create a gap for me. Because, listen, as lawyers, we are not, allowed to go into the merits and go to... Instead, I was telling your producer that I will stay away from that and make sure that we discuss just the law. You know? Because... my rendition. So this is the thing. When somebody goes to court, he has his rendition of the facts, and then the respondent will also have his own rendition. So my characterizing one way or another would be like taking sides. So I prefer to deal with just the law.
Right. So let's do this then. We are going to take a look at the petitions themselves, some of what have been put out there. But like we saw in the case of the Asin North issue, there's been some talk about the Member of Parliament, or at least the contender from the NDC's end, not even being qualified to have participated in the parliamentary race. What is your reaction to that, or your take on that development? That is one of the thrusts of that petition. What can you tell us in respect of that?
Okay. So, basically, since we're a country of law, if somebody says that Mr. X is not qualified to be an MP, what we naturally have to do is to look at what the law says. So what does the law say? So we have the Constitution, which spells out in Article 94 the qualifying criteria for a person to be a member of Parliament. So if you take the Asin North one, it borders on dual citizenship, Article 94 too, right? Where it says that for a person to qualify as a member of Parliament, to be elected as a member of Parliament, a person should not owe allegiance to any other country, which in ordinary English means that he should not be a dual citizen. Yes. So, but you know the Asin North one, well, he started the process but didn't find nomination. The process got completed. As for its legal effect, we will see when the court decides. Then, this other one, we are told it has to do with issues. So we are told that there's an issue of fraud. Now, all I can do is to once again refer to the Constitution and say what the Constitution is about. If somebody is convicted of fraud, then in that case, for 10 years after the conviction, the person cannot stand as an MP. So that is the gist of the matter. But on issues of whether there is evidence that he was actually convicted and the rest, but what I'm not competent to say is when they adduce the evidence that whether the person was really convicted. But when it comes to the law, it's closest. I'm looking at the sense of the allegation. The closest I can find is that, okay, the person has been convicted of fraud.
Mr. Kwebu, we keep losing you now and then. If you could just reiterate that point you were making. We keep losing you. I think the line is a bit, it's not the best this morning. But if you could just repeat that last line that you started with.
Okay. Yes, okay. I say that the matter of the allegations of fraud, I mentioned that
Unfortunately, the line is still poor. We're going to try to get back to Martin Kpebu to get some understanding of what exactly this petition, the details of the petition are. But let's take a look at some of what is in that petition when it comes to Kintampo North. And as you can see on your screens, it's a declaration that Joseph Kwame Kuma, the parliamentary candidate of the NDC, who carried the day in that election, by the way, the second respondent herein on account of being disqualified by law, is not the validly elected member of parliament for the Kintampo North constituency, pursuant to the parliamentary election held on the 7th of December 2020. And B, that Michael Sarkodie Bafo, the NPP parliamentary candidate, the petitioner herein on account of the law, ought to have been validly declared winner of the parliamentary election in the Kintampo North constituency. C, consequential order as this honorable court may deem fit to make. Those are some of the reliefs being sought. And then when you go to 21, it talks about the petitioner intending to rely on the following. So those are what are going to be relied on: the 1992 Constitution, particularly the preamble and articles 11, 33, and 94, the statutes to be employed, the Electoral Commission Act, among others. And of course, as you would expect in a case like this, decided cases are going to be fallen on as well, including the presidential election petition of 2012. Martin Kpebu is back on the line. Mr. Kpebu, welcome back. Now, if you could just go back a little bit, and let's try the line this time to ensure that we can actually hear what you're saying.
Okay. Yes. So I also that the issue of that somebody was convicted on the offense of fraud. Okay. I'm saying that in that case, the Constitution provides as a that if somebody has been convicted of fraud, then the person is disqualified from being an MP. So, and that is carries 10 years after the conviction. So I'm trying to limit it to what the allegation is. So, of course,
right.
There are other offenses that if a person commits, that person can be bad as well. But for now, let's cases.
Okay, so let's look at the allegation of fraud. It is common knowledge that there are certain requirements that must be met by anybody who wants to become a member of parliament. And so can you walk us through these per what the Constitution itself says, even as we delve into the matter of fraud and what the implications are if proven?
Yeah. So the first implication, as I said, on the matter of fraud, when the person is convicted, is what we said that the person cannot put himself up as elected as a member of parliament. And that's what you call that handicap or disability college carry on for 10 years after the person has finished serving the sentence. So let's say the person was sentenced to, let's say, 10 years, then after that sentence 10 years, you wait another 10 before the restriction takes away. Okay. But apart from fraud, even election offenses, they also bring about the same qualification. So if somebody has a box, this is a ballot box, okay, if somebody puts a police station to cause mayhem and all, electoral complaint also brings the same constitution. We've already talked about wealth. Okay. Yeah, so, and then when the commission of inquiry, okay, find somebody liable, find somebody who has conducted himself in public office, it has appropriated public funds, and then that's also a qualifying ground. So these are the major grounds to disqualify somebody from being elected as a member of parliament.
Right. Now, we also know that, yes, the allegation of fraud was made against the candidate of the NDC purported by this petition. But what is the effect of an appeal, on such a decision by the courts? Because indeed, if an appeal is put through and if it is effective, if it is upheld by the courts, what would be the impact of that? Would it make whoever had been, given this or convicted, so to speak, of fraud, would it change anything and now allow them to contest for something like a parliamentary seat?
No, definitely. If they are accused, then it means it's as was never convicted because the criminal record goes away. Because with winning his accused, it means that he has not committed a crime. I know things happen. But he was only accused, the evidence was used, and so the High Court or Court of Appeal, depending on which court convicted him. If he was convicted in the High Court, he takes his appeal to the Court of Appeal. If he was convicted in the Circuit Court, he takes his appeal to the High Court. So let's just say the court that acquitted him on appeal. Once that's done, then he gets the all clear. Yeah, he gets the all clear so he can go ahead, contest. Yes.
Right. Now, the Techiman South issue is also another case in point. And of course, there a number of issues have come up, even with regard to the counting process and everything tied to that. The thrust of the petition then would be what for you, Mr. Kpebu? Okay, so we'll get back to Martin Kpebu on that beat. I just wanted us to quickly segue into the Techiman South constituency and its issues. But let's take a quick look at what that petition has. So if we take a look there, looking at the different pointers, that for the purpose of voting at the parliamentary election, and these are the requests in there, the second respondent divided the Techiman South constituency into 265 polling stations, and the petitioner, as well as the first respondent, had polling agents at each of the polling stations who signed copies of the declaration contained in Form 8A of CI 127, hereinafter referred to as pink sheets, which the second respondent made available at each polling station. Then, that prior to the 7th of December 2020, the second respondent had conducted special voting for a certain category of voters who would be performing election-related duties on the 7th of December 2020. And for this purpose, the second respondent assigned 2 polling stations to the Techiman South constituency. Again, that the total tally of votes for determining the winner of the parliamentary elections conducted by the second respondent at the Techiman South constituency therefore came from 267 polling stations, that is 2 polling stations from the special voting exercise, and 265 polling stations from the regular voting conducted on the 7th of December 2020. So it goes on and on, but let's get into the nitty-gritty with Martin Kpebu, who's back on the line. Hopefully you've been able to position better this time so we can hear you better. So welcome back. So I was talking about the Techiman South issue. There are quite a number of things to look at. The fact that some polling stations, supposedly their results were not factored in, the fact that counting perhaps did not follow all the procedures that ought to have been followed. We've heard from the NDC side claiming that even certain details they had to be given by the Electoral Commission's officials were not given them. What is the thrust from what you've read in the Techiman South constituency petition, Mr. Kpebu?
Well, then, if I have to modify a bit, I want to say modify a bit because there were allegations time has not come. Or better so, because the lawyer responded, so we are very careful not to run away what the citizen is treated as a possible. So I'm a bit restricted in that regard. Maybe here again, we can go straight to the law so that when we deal with the law, the US can judge for themselves. That's how we do it.
Okay. Can you at least break down for us what this means, the sort of points that are made in the petition? What is the breakdown? What is the understanding? Break it down for us to bite-sized pieces. Can you do that?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you see, the PI 127, which we use for the election, has procedures that have to be adhered to when it comes to counting, sorting out, and declaring somebody winner of a parliamentary election. So basically, we are looking at the Regulation 43. When the matter came up, at least at the time that both sides had the opportunity to respond, we could see that the issue had to do with how Regulation 43 was applied. Number one, you see that under Regulation 43, it's required that when the counting has been done, they have to fill in certain forms. Okay? So now, when the forms are filled in, then the party agents are allowed to sign. After all, if you don't want to sign, then you can put in a protest. After that, there are other forms that the returning officer at the constituency collation center has to fill in and post at the constituency collation center to show that Mr. X or Mr. Y won the election. So the time goes on, we can see that at least so far, the EP has not been able to show that the forms were filled in the constituency.
All right, let's also hear from Justice Abdullahi, who joins the conversation. Justice, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Very good morning to you and your listeners.
Right. So let's start with where I just ended, so to speak, with Mr. Kpebu. The Techiman South constituency. I'm sure you've seen the petition, and there are quite some points that are made with regard to the counting process, with regard to the number of constituencies, with regard to what the EC should have done for some of the parties, especially with the NDC, which supposedly were not done. Your initial take?
It's for me. All these revelations are quite revealing, and I am shocked as to how all these could happen when the polling agents and other observers, including the media, were all present during the collation and for the entire processes of the election. I keep asking myself, what happened to all the advice by the Supreme Court and indeed the leadership of the NDC in particular, when the Supreme Court had to say that elections are won at the polling station? And I feel we tend to take things for granted in a lot of ways. However, that does not absolve the Electoral Commission from responsibility. I think even if you were to hold an election without the presence of polling agents and party agents and all other observers who are traditionally present, I think the Electoral Commission still owes us a responsibility under the Constitution, particular Article 296, to be fair, candid, and indeed not show any form of bias towards any other person. We understand they do good and they are human beings. But once you are playing the role of a referee, you are expected to play that role to the best of your abilities in accordance with the constitutional provision, and not to do it with some form of bias or the semblance of it. And to that extent, I think we are not helping each other. We We are supposed to help build confidence in the system, and we can do this better if we are able to demonstrate to all and sundry that with or without the presence of observers, we will still discharge our responsibilities in accordance with the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And indeed, for that matter, deepen the democracy that we are all seeking to build and ensure that in years to come, with or without the presence of any other person, we can still repose confidence in ourselves and indeed the people who have entrusted us with a responsibility to operate the system we do operate.
Justice, do you feel the umpire in this situation, specifically the Electoral Commission, did not act above the board in Techiman South on the back of some of the things that happened? Yes, the parties have to be proactive, and some have said that maybe the NDC did not take stock of certain things that it should have as a party. But are you suggesting then that the Electoral Commission itself did not do the right things in Techiman South, for which reason it bears some of the onus, with regard to all that has happened there?
I have already made my clear condemnation of the Electoral Commission's conduct in this particular election. That it's been the worst form of commission since the inception of the 1992 Constitution. And most of these litany of complaints are the reasons that attest to this condemnation of the Electoral Commission as we have at present. And I also say this also because, as I've already noted, the Electoral Commission is not put there to do the bidding of any person. The way they assess the authority is also the means through which they repose confidence in the system. And so if these minor complaints, which are completely unwarranted, they are unwarranted in any way, because these are not so difficult things to do. We voted more than $100 million in as the budgetary support of the Electoral Commission. They have all the human resources, the material resources, and indeed the complement of other things that they would need to discharge a quality electoral system. And so if these minor complaints would be the basis for anybody to challenge the Commission's decision, then clearly they've not lived up to expectation, which is why I condemn them in no uncertain terms, and I would say that they have brought this onto themselves. These could have been avoided. These are not the kind of things that you should be seeing in the 21st century Electoral Commission. They are far better than that. We could do better. That's the whole point I'm making.
Let me ask you this. I mean, we've had incidents where electoral results have been questioned. In fact, in 2012, we had that entire petition lasting about 8 months and, affecting governance in some way. But the point to be made is that we have had petitions in the past. People have had grievances that have been taken to court. So would it be fair then to look at these pockets of incidents in some constituencies, which we almost always see anyway in terms of our electoral process, and say and describe this Electoral Commission as the worst? Do you feel that is fair?
Absolutely. And indeed, it just added to my responses to the extent that we've had experiences in the past. And the Supreme Court gave us a lot of advice to take going forward. And then this Electoral Commission, but the commissioner herself in particular, was part of the entire processes leading up to series of reforms. And notwithstanding all the wealth of experience that the Electoral Commissioner in particular brought on board, and the learnings that we ought to have taken from the 2012 petition, together with all the other errors that we've committed in the past, way back from 1996, when one of the possibly the earliest electoral petition was filed by George Amo. That's I think the Ayato West Wogon constituency. I think there were a lot of experiences that put together should lead us to a better path. And if we are not learning from these, clearly it is justifiable for anyone, not just as a start to lie, to condemn this Electoral Commission and in fact the Commission as the worst form of the commission that we probably have.
After the declaration of results, was there any window, do you feel, for the Electoral Commission to have remedied the situation before it went to court?
Unfortunately, the moment you publish your results, particularly after gazetting, there's very little room for you to remedy the situation, in particular because at the same time you want to engender some confidence in the system, so you don't even want to tamper with the results as declared, and that is what we sought to condemn even in the earlier attempt to correct the results that were declared on the 9th of December. Except that, with that correction, much as it was a minor correction, our position is that some of those things should not be happening. It shouldn't even happen at all. And this is because the whole election system thrives on trust. It thrives on trust. So if there's no trust, there's no basis for a referee. But the whole essence of having a referee is to ensure that everybody, all stakeholders, support that referee because the referee reposes trust and this level of trust also resonates in the people. And so if it doesn't exist, then there's no point. So any attempt to correct errors after the declaration would not promote that level of trust that we see. And unfortunately, I do not think the Electoral Commission, even beyond the level of trust, needs to even go the extent of attempting to correct any error that they might have committed themselves. I think it should allow the system to operate naturally, where a party who is aggrieved should proceed to the appropriate legal forum to remedy that error. That way, if the Electoral Commissioner is ordered to effect that error, some amount of confidence would also be built in the external system, that i.e. the judiciary. That way, so we have a complement of trust and the deepening of the constitutional bodies, among others. It is a better way of resolving disputes than the Electoral Commissioner itself attempting to correct what they deem to be an error. Otherwise, if you claim that A is an error, the question is, what about B? What about C? What about D? If A, B, C are all errors, then to what extent are we sure that even what you have declared is correct?
Justice, very briefly, I just want to bring in this bit before we wrap up. Now, in the Kintampo North issue, it said that this person had been accused, charged with fraud at some point and shouldn't even have been contesting. I believe in Asin North, it was another issue of someone who supposedly was not qualified because of the person's dual nationality. And we've seen all of these issues come up. I just want you to digest for us. Is it the party that ought to be checking to ensure that the candidates it's putting forward qualify, or is it the Electoral Commission, or are both of them culpable? Because we see some of these incidents. If it turns out that indeed the people were not fit to even partake in the elections, where do we lay the blame?
Unfortunately, I think all the stakeholders, it's not just the Electoral Commission or the political party, even the candidate himself has a responsibility to himself to ensure that at the time that he's filing to contest an election, he is fit, qualified, and indeed within the requirements of the law to contest that election. Because, of course, he spends a lot of money and time. I can understand why some people may not want to disclose some of these things or renounce their citizenship or revoke any form of allegiance that they have to another country. That's because mostly we've noticed that most of these persons, candidates, the allegiance they owe to other countries are economic in nature. And so they would want to weigh the options, whether they win or lose, before they take that decision. If they lose, at least they can still go back to their economic powerhouse as a country and then recoup their losses in a way. And so there's that difficulty on the part of the candidate to do this renunciation before they contest. However, if you do not do it on time, this is the problem that you bring onto yourself and to your political party, and indeed to externally to the entire country as a whole, because really would have lost a quality resource, human resource, for nothing, simply on the basis of permutations and calculations and predictions that probably the person attempted to undertake in order to determine whether or not he renounces or not. But to the political party, naturally they also have a responsibility to ensure that the candidate that they are filing for is a candidate who is qualified, fit and qualified to contest the election. What we have to remember is that the issue of nationality there are two limbs of it. It's not just one aspect. It's not just being a Ghanaian or not a Ghanaian. It's also, so there could be a time where, I think all of us should know is that if you read the Constitution carefully, it has two tests on the issue of what nationality. The first test is whether or not indeed the person is a Ghanaian or not. The second test is owing allegiance. At that moment, you could be a Ghanaian, but you can still be denied your candidature if it turns out that indeed you owe allegiance to another country. And this will normally happen where, for instance, a Ghanaian a Ghanaian is possibly a spy of another country. It's a typical example of the second limb. So the person is a Ghanaian, but because he owes allegiance to another country, he cannot contest the election or cannot be a member of parliament. So I think we, most of the time when we look at this particular issue, we look at it only from the perspective of the nationality. We have to remember the second limb, that is the allegiance to the country that that you are not, that you may be you may not be a national of. So please let's take that into consideration when we are having these discussions. Now, for the issue of a person having been declared by a committee or a commission of inquiry to have squandered some amount of money, it's quite difficult to appreciate why such a candidate would think that he could hide from that that responsibility, considering the fact that from the days of Agbona Williams and Bedema, which I think in the 60s or thereabouts, where these issues, this part of our law has been with us from all the way from that period. That if you have been found by a commission or committee of inquiry, you can never guilty of any financial malfeasance. You cannot contest for any election, and particularly parliamentary, and of course it extends to the presidency as well. And so, if you know very well that some of these adverse findings have been made about you, I find it difficult as to why you would fail to disclose this and think that you can hide under the cloak of parliamentary immunity or some other immunity of a sort to protect you from being a member of parliament. That can never happen. And so like I said, the candidate, the political party, and indeed the electoral commission, they all have responsibility to do more due diligence on these persons because we spend a lot of money and time conducting an election.
Right.
Parties themselves, the citizens themselves, and the political parties also spend a lot of money and time. And at the end of the day, the nation loses so much.
Right.
Simply for the basis of some of these defaults. And I think we should all be up and coming with some of these things. We should own up to our responsibility and be completely truthful and frank. But I am more certain that the electoral commission with amount of state resources at this side could not do some of these basic due diligence on the persons who are filed as a candidate for election for the purpose of elections in this country. They should be able to do more due diligence on these persons. The BNI, now NIB, is available for some of these works. I can understand that the candidates may be more, but they can still do a thorough job by digging into their past and find out whether or not some amount of issues are involved that, if brought to the fore, can deny them the opportunity to contest for the election.
Okay. Well, Justice, thank you very much for your time with us this morning. We've been engaging Justice Abdullahi and Martin Kpebu, both of them lawyers, who have tried to break down the salient issues for us with regard to these two cases, Techiman South and Kintampo North, and the petitions, of course. The courts will determine how these cookies crumble, if you like. Thank you for staying with us right here on the AM show. We take a bit of a breather, and when we come back, more of those discussions that we've spoken of. We are going to have that one-on-one discussion with the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Anthony Boateng Esquire. Do stay with us.
The 19 address to the nation did inform all of us that from the 15th of January 2021, schools will be reopened, which means kindergarten, nursery, primary school kids will all be going back to school. Most parents were excited because the children have been home for too long. Except that now that the reopening is getting close, some of us are getting somewhat worried. Why? Also because if you look at the COVID cases, they've started going up. So today I'm spending a bit of the morning with a Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service. You can send us your concerns. What is on your heart as your children will be going back to school just next Monday? You can go to Facebook. We've posted the question there. You can add your voice to it so I can pass it on to him. They are also onto a campaign, a back to school campaign. We will talk about that as well. So get involved. This is our conversation as parents, guardians, as teachers, heads of institutions. If you've got any concerns, kindly send it to us so I can pass it on. So my guest this morning is a Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Anthony Boateng. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great. So let's first address the issue of the fact that the COVID cases have started going up again. So some people are asking, must children really go back to school?
Yeah, let me say that on the issue of the COVID cases going up, I think that the appropriate authority to address that question will be the Ghana Health Service. But I believe that since COVID and this related issue came to Ghana, the president has ably led the nation in the fight against COVID-19. And I'm sure many of the decisions he has made have been influenced by both science and data, as we've been made to believe. I have no doubt in my mind that when he came to the decision that schools should reopen, he had factored all those issues into consideration. And I'm sure he is very much aware that we can manage the situation under those circumstances.
So the little children are all going from age 4, is that it?
Yes, that's so.
So we would have first timers also go back to school on Monday?
Yes. You see, what we have to appreciate, and in fact, as educational managers, that was our major concern, the children who were to go into school for the first time. The demographic composition of education is that we start school in Ghana at age 4. These are kids who are 4 years. If they are unable to go to school and they go to school at age 5, you absolutely disrupt the demographic composition of our educational system. It has very serious implications for us. Indeed, as I speak to you, we have issues of what we call overage and underage in school, which is a major concern we are trying to deal with. And therefore, we're very anxious that these children who are 4 years should be able to go to school. Indeed, it was one of the major considerations why the final year students were made to exit, so that the system could be cleared for the first timers to also enter school. So they are all going back to school.
So what would change in terms of the schools, the classrooms as we know it from Monday?
Right. A lot of things will change because we are to keep social distancing. We are to ensure that the children observe the protocols as have been put in place. We are to ensure that teachers interact with the students much more closely and much more intensely, because there are a lot that have been missed and we need to cover up. So a lot of things will have, we are not going to have the things as usual. A lot of things will have to be changed. A lot of it, much more concentration and effectiveness has to come into the system.
What's the expectation that 4-year-olds will wear masks?
We are discussing that with the Ghana Health Service, who will be the best people to advise. But for our planning, we have arranged that they will wear, depending on the advice we get from Ghana Health Service.
And would you be supplying the mask for all students?
Government will supply masks for every student and every staff of the school.
So they're going to school on a daily basis.
Yes.
Is it one day, one mask?
No, these are usable and washable masks. What we supply to both students and teachers are usable and washable masks. So that is exactly what we will be doing.
Of course, even as I'm asking you this, I think it's also good that we encourage parents to also provide extra masks for children. We know how, my colleague on the show, on the AM show, Benjamin, who is back in the studio, cited something, I think, was it yesterday, where a child could say, oh, your mask is nice, let me try yours. Have you tried to play out the various scenarios where we could possibly see when schools reopen?
Right. You see, we have. Let me assure you, we know the children better than probably everybody else do. We know what they can do and what they cannot do. We even know of children who will even use the mask to even do other things. And you know, children, we know them. We've been working with them for a very long time, so we know. So we are putting. That is why we said that a lot of things will change. A lot of much more concentration, much more attention has to be given to ensure that these children. And you see, one of the most difficult things that we will face as educational system is that these children, especially the very, very young ones, are taught and they learn through play. At the same time, under this environment, we need to restrict some of the play, some of the things that they can do and they cannot do. And so that is part of the management that we are putting in place to ensure that they can learn at the same time, they can be taught at the same time within those safety and health protocol arrangements.
So we're social distancing. Are we providing extra classrooms in that instance? Because some of the classes are really full.
We are not providing, of course, Karen, as we sit here, we cannot provide additional classrooms. If even we have the resources to do that, we will not complete before the schools reopen. What is going to happen, yes, is that we are going to ensure social distancing. We will deploy and employ all the facilities available in our various schools and compounds. We will encourage, because many of these activities, especially the younger ones, are through play, we will encourage teachers and caregivers to use much more open facilities as much as possible to enhance the teaching and learning. In areas where we have extreme cases of congestion, we will authorize district directors in specific cases to adopt specific strategies for dealing with specific schools which have unusually high numbers.
Okay, so at this point I'd like to go to Facebook because we put a post up on Facebook and people are responding. So I'm just going to save the rest of the questions that I have. If you've got questions as well, my guest this morning coming to you live from the Ghana Education Service is a Deputy Director of the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Anthony Boateng. You can send me your questions right here on Facebook or on the screens. We're going to put up the WhatsApp number as well. You can send your questions. Time is now really. So this is on Facebook. Ernest Ayarik says, no textbooks for the new curriculum, no guidelines as to the number of contact hours to be spent in school. Some classes have more than 60 pupils. What plans should be taken to avoid the spread of the pandemic? With less than 6 days, we have not heard of any PPEs to be provided. How will the sitting arrangements be done? Because with the new curriculum that was introduced, pupils sat in groups facing each other. These and many more are some of the concerns yet to be addressed. So 5 questions that NS brings up.
Right. Now, on the issue of textbooks, I think that we need to assure everybody that the textbooks are being procured, and some have been delivered, and they will be delivered to the schools.
Before Monday?
Some before, some after. Some before, some after. You see, what we should appreciate is that textbooks are teaching and learning materials. Textbooks primarily should support the children in their learning. Teachers are supposed to prepare lessons to go and deliver. And then the children, in reinforcing what they have been taught by their teachers, are then exposed to the textbooks. Teachers might use textbooks as additional material, but I will be surprised to hear of any teacher who says that his primary or her primary source of preparation for his class or her class is a textbook.
Okay, there was a second question.
On the issue of the I think he talked about
contact hours.
Contact
but
hours.
There hasn't been any guidelines.
Yes, there are guidelines. You see, madam, what is happening is that we will encourage everybody to be calm. Like we did with the phase reopening, we provided guidelines for the schools and for these guidelines are sent to the school authorities. Now, in the current exercise, the one we are doing, as I speak to you, today is a Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Right. By tomorrow, we will release the first set of guidelines that we are targeting parents so that they can liaise with their children whilst at home, help us educate them on some of the guidelines that they'll be going through in school so that the children will be much more familiar.
Okay.
And the parents can also be more comfortable that some of these things will happen in school.
So this is coming in the form of what, a press release? Or?
They are material, they are printouts, they are press releases,
Okay.
there are several forms that people can read, people can access and use them to educate their children at home.
So if I can get some assurance that your office will get it to me, at least I can share
I
it
will.
on my show tomorrow.
We will.
Okay.
We will.
All right.
We will.
So that's in terms of the guidelines on the contact hours. There's also the question of some classes have more than 60 pupils.
Yes.
What plans should be taken?
Yeah, I think I addressed your question earlier, in which I said that we will observe social distancing where there are specific cases of schools where the populations are extraordinarily large. District directors would be, because we don't want to, it will not be general. It will depend on the specific school. And we will encourage that district directors, we have already met with them. They will be directed on how to deal with specific cases of overpopulation.
Okay, when you say how to deal with it, are there examples that you talked about that you want to share? So, for instance, let's use this number of 60.
Yes, you see, when there are 60 students in one class, it's too large, and in the environment in which we find ourselves. So, for example, what we have done is that we will try to see if there's nearby. One of the things, we have done some studies, and one of the things we have noted is the issue of school feeding. You go to a compound or you go to a community, and there are two schools. One school is on school feeding, the other is not. You find the school with school feeding overpopulated, while the other one, because many children drift towards those schools with the school feeding. What we are trying to do, and which we have, the discussion is already underway. How do we spread the school feeding to the next school, so that we can spread out the children to occupy those empty classes in the next school? And then, in some of the, for example, in the KGs and in the very lower classes, if there are other structures around that can accommodate the children, we will deploy them. For example, there are some schools which are housed around church premises. Is it not possible for us to talk to the church authorities to allow some of the overflowing students to move in there and make sure that we are arranged in such a way that the student can receive teaching and learning effectively?
Except that when you do that, then you need more teachers to take care of them.
We will not, because we have done our numbers and we know we will be able to handle that.
Okay. I think the next question was on the PPEs.
Yes, PPEs are being supplied and will be supplied to all students and teachers and staff of the schools.
So those who have not seen PPEs yet, let them have them before Monday.
Let them go to school on Monday and they'll get the PPEs.
Okay. All right. I think that will be it for this question. This one from Papanko says, how will pupils at KG and nursery levels be handled to protect these kids from contracting the deadly coronavirus? I'm wondering how possible it will be.
We will not be dealing with nurseries. We will be dealing with KGs. That's those who are 4 years. And as I did indicate earlier, we are very much conscious of the risk there. We are very much conscious of how they act, how they behave, and the rest. And I think that I've earlier told you that we are very much aware of that, and we've taken measures to ensure that we can ensure that they learn in safety and in health.
Is there
what we would do in terms of contact hours is that for the very, very low classes, they will not stay in school for too long. They will not stay in school for too long.
What too long means?
Where too long means that they might not spend more than 4 hours.
Because traditionally the closing time is 2 p.m.
No, we are looking at day closing within 4 hours. Because of their age and because of their circumstances.
So this is the 4-year-olds?
Yes.
Okay.
The 4 5s. Those we are looking 4 5s. KG1, KG2, P1. Yes.
So they go to school at what time? 7?
8
a.m.
and close at 12.
And close at 12.
Yes.
But for the rest of the students,
they will run their normal curriculum timetable.
Okay. All right. I was just going to ask, is there a certain direction on the creche and nurseries in terms of
those are
those
are not under the mandate of Ghana Education Service. So I will not be, it will not be appropriate for me to be talking about them.
Okay, so you're not given directions in that sense.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to shelve the questions on private schools because that also doesn't come.
Yeah, private schools are all being reopened. But as to the specific I think that the arrangement is the same throughout.
So it's just the contact hours. So
yes.
my children's school, for instance, are closing at 4. And I asked, shouldn't we be reducing the time now?
The arrangement is that they will do 4 hours, at least for the public schools. And I expect the private schools to come on board because the arrangement for handling pupils are the same across board.
Yeah, but who is policing them? I mean, who is regulating whether or not
the National Authority of School Inspection.
Okay, so I guess we have to get more answers from them. So let me not bore you with that, except that Emmanuel Ewuku Akoya is saying that the president should have waited till he paid our January salaries before allowing the children to go back to school. This one is says from Musa Al Hassan says, my concern is that schools that have dual desk deficit, how are they going to cope with social distancing?
We recognize that under COVID-19 circumstances and under social distancing, the use of dual desk has to be looked at again, and we are looking at that. For now, we will restrict the use of dual desk because of social distancing.
So no 3:1.
3.
Because there are times that you have 3.
No. Because of social distancing, we can't.
But
do
you
that.
already have the desk, so what happens?
The desks are there. The desk will be used, but probably we'll have to reduce the number of students who will use it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Here, Data Coin says, I wonder why people are totally against the reopening, because from my little observations, these kids don't obey these COVID protocols at home too, and the rate at which they move about playing with others is so worrying. All right. If you've got any questions, you can kindly send it to us. Alberta Sichofer, you asked a question about approved textbooks for our children. I guess we've touched on that. Okay, if you've got more questions, well, I am here in the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service. I am in his office. There are people asking about tertiary institutions. That's not your domain, is it?
No.
Okay, all right. So we've talked about the contact hours. We've talked about the textbooks. We've talked about the dual desk deficit. Let's talk about the campaign to get people back to school. I'm sure that you've also received some of the concerns that parents are raising now that the time is so close for the children to go back to school.
No, you see, when we initiated the campaign, because we got the numbers, when we recalled the final years to go and write their exams, and when we recalled the second years to school, we realized that some students did not come back to school. And we were concerned, and therefore we tried to carry out some survey, and the survey did indicate to us that because of the long period of closure, some students, for example, have gotten into some commercial activities, that some have started seeing money, and asking them to drop this activity to go back to school is likely to be a challenge. Some parents have, because of the long closure, have used their students to support them in their economic ventures, and asking them to release their children to go back to school is going to be a little bit of a challenge. We realize that unfortunately, some of our females have become pregnant. Some also have been married away.
Do we know the numbers? Because we keep hearing this.
We have the projections, but not the actual numbers, because we will not know everybody, but you can have the projections. So what we decided on then is to engage in a campaign aimed at motivating and encouraging both students, parents, and the general public to support us in urging all the children to return to school when schools reopen. And that's exactly what we are doing under the Back to School campaign. We have trained people at all the regional centers in all the 16 regions. We have trained some are currently being trained in all the 260 districts, so that they will go to both the communities, they will engage the various stakeholders in urging them to support us in encouraging, motivating the children to return to school.
Are we given some sort of incentives?
For the moment, no.
Okay.
For the moment.
Let's get some WhatsApp messages. This one says, please, I'm a first-year student under Golden Track system. Since we couldn't complete the previous academic year, are we now going to finish it up or start a new academic year in Form 2?
Yeah, it's good this has come up. Because everybody is moving one class forward, under the curriculum that we are running, it's more of building blocks. You need A before you go to B. So those aspects of the curriculum which are not being touched as a result of the closure will have to be covered. And therefore, I'm sure you might have seen, we have just sent out a release to our schools. And we've asked that the first 8 weeks should be used to clear up those subjects, those topics that we have not been able to clear as a result of the closure. So we use the first 8 weeks to do all that mopping up, and then we will then build upon in their new class. You see, that is, if you look at the structure, we have a structure which aims at returning the schools to the normal academic calendar. So next year, for example, we will structure it in such a way that this year, the academic year will end around around October, November. Next year, hopefully, if we are still alive, it will end around September, August, September. And we expect that by the third year, we will have returned to May, June.
Okay.
So that is how we are managing it in such a way that we can return the academic year to its normal state.
So the first question had a second leg to it. It says whether students are going together or others will go together, taking into consideration the track system.
You see, for the senior high schools, we are running double track for only the second years. Final years will go in one stretch. First year, when they report to school, will go one stretch. But the second years will continue to run double track.
So there will be some of the students home?
So the green track will go, the gold track will be home.
Okay, this one says, good morning, Joy News. Would they maintain the policy of 25 students in each class?
We will relax it a bit, but there will be limitation on the number of students who should be in one class.
Okay. Somebody asking when the new curriculum is going to take place. Amaliba is asking.
Which curriculum?
I'm not sure. Says
because
I want to know when the
standard-based curriculum is already in place. The Common Core program, that is what we're going to train the teachers on, especially those who are going to JHS 1. We're going to train them. We have had to postpone it for some technical reasons. But because of the 8 weeks, the teachers will be using to clear up the topics they were not able to cover in the previous academic year. By the time the 8 weeks are up, they will have been trained to carry on with the new curriculum in the junior high schools.
Okay. This one is asking if there will be provisions of sanitizers and Veronica Bucket that you say we should wait. They will be. They will find these things.
There will be.
Okay. This one says, my school has only one class for KG and the population is about 65 pupils and one old woman dealing with these kids. We don't even have extra teachers to divide the class into 2 groups. What should be done is from Kojampong in Wasa Ekropong.
Very well. That is it's a real challenge. We have identified that not only there in some other areas, but as I said, district directors have been directed on what to do in such specific cases, and they will deal with the situation.
Okay, here's a question. I think the first part is not necessarily for you, because he says, my concern is about the busing of these pupils to school by our private school. Will there be any strict measures to control overloading? We're going to follow up on this, but here's one to you. It says, can we not wait to, as a matter of urgency, vaccinate all KG and lower primary pupils in Ghana before they start school?
That is purely a health matter that I will.
I knew you were going to say go to Ghana Health Service.
Ghana Health Service to deal with that, because if you remember, this issue of even testing came up when we were recalling the final years to school. I remember I was in your studio, and it was one of the major issues that came up, and Ghana Health Service had taken a decision on that one. So I will leave this one to them to make a decision on that.
This one says, any allowance for teachers risking their lives in teaching for all year round in this pandemic? Your teachers haven't been teaching, have they?
Your teachers have not been teaching.
Somebody's asking for allowance.
I thought you would have asked whether they were going to give government some commission for paying them all this period without teaching. But I think that they should exercise patience. Let's go through the motion and see. In the senior high schools, we have what we call the teacher motivation, where we give the teachers some extra allowance, though very, very small. But at least it's the recognition that we give that they are putting in extra efforts. So let them have patience. Let's go through the motion and see.
Okay, but for now, that is not on the table.
It's not.
Okay. This one says Tarivago Primary School, and I hope that I did mention the name of the school right. Has only three classrooms, right? KG1 to B6. Meanwhile, B6 alone has over 60 pupils. That's in the Tempane districts. This one says, will there be wholesale promotion for the student? Will the JHS 1 run same curriculum as that of the JHS 2 and JHS 3?
You see, let me state this. Recalling of students back to school will not solve all the problems that we have already. Those problems will continue to be there, and they will be dealt with as we go along. So it should not be because of COVID-19 we are recalling, so all the problems of the service have been dealt with. No. Some of these challenges have been actual, real challenges that we have been encountering. There are areas where they don't even have classrooms. There are areas where children, they have even used palm fronts to divide a block into classrooms. Those ones will be tackled as long-term measures. But for now, what we are going to use what we have to deal with the situation. But definitely, the situation will recall for some extra attention because of the circumstances we find ourselves with COVID-19. So those ones, I think I've said, yes, those with peculiar issues will be addressed in their specific circumstances.
Okay, there's the wholesale promotion. This one has to do with JHS.
Everybody is moving on.
Okay.
Everybody is moving on.
This one says, good morning, Joy News. Please, if the KGs close earlier than the primary, the KGs will start to wait for their brothers and sisters in the primary. By then, the teachers have left. So what will happen to the kids? This is another reality.
You see, it is a reality. And it's a reality that we cannot deal with as a package. But there are others who will go, who don't have their kids in the school. There are others who have their kids in school. There are others whose parents might want to come and pick all of them together. So going to pick one and later in the day go to pick the other will become an issue. But these are some of the inconveniences all of us will have to. Why should we even be thinking of wearing of masks to school? But this is because of the circumstance we find ourselves. So let us all endeavor to endure part of these inconveniences as we go along and the situation improves. These things will not come up.
Okay, this one says schools are reopening next week, Monday. My school, KG1 and 2, for instance, sits on the floor, as well as the basic 1 to basic 5 for their lessons. How do I handle the situation? From Ahmed Isaku.
They sit on the floor?
Yes. Dorimon Nyangli, KG and Primary, Wa Wests.
Yeah, you see, Mama, as I've said earlier, the problems of the system will not be solved overnight. And they will not be solved because of COVID-19. If the children sit on floor, very unfortunate. But if they sit on floor, and they have been doing this for some time, I wish we could deal with it immediately so that the children could have some comfort. But for the moment, if the children sit on floor and they can keep social distance and they can learn, for the moment, there's little we can do. But I hope we'll be able to identify this school and quickly attend to.
I'll forward this message to you so that you can check this out.
If there are some emergency plans that we can put in place, we will do that.
This one says for SHS2 students who are day students, what will happen to them? Because even when they were in the first year before COVID-19, some teachers were teaching at night after supper. Now that they are almost on crash course to make up, would there be evening classes to the disadvantage of day students? Kwesi from UCC is asking.
You see, if teachers teach extra classes, which we will encourage because of the circumstance we find ourselves, we expect that the teachers will arrange this with the students and there will be agreed times. We also expect that in agreeing on the times, teachers and the students will be conscious of how these children can go back home in safety. And then, of course, it's also important for us to note that under the circumstances in which we find ourselves, it is important that we close early so that children can get home as early as possible. And you see, also because of COVID-19, the student needs some amount of rest. So we will also encourage that in agreeing on the times, they should take all these factors into consideration.
Okay.
But I know that teachers would discuss the extra timing with the children before they plan them.
Okay, so somebody specifically asked if they will be permitted to do extra classes. You're not saying no to that, except
extra classes under school supervision, not private extra classes by teachers for which they extort money from the children.
Okay.
We will not allow that.
All right.
But we will allow extra classes under the general management of the school management, which is coordinated, managed, and monitored by the school authorities.
Great. This one says, during the JHS 3 people, okay, and I'm not sure I get this. We're told every teacher will receive 3 face masks and free hand sanitizer, but we received only 1 face mask and 1 hand sanitizer each for teachers in my school. Are they not sure the same thing is going to happen again? When you come to Upper West Region, precisely Nandom, Pufian circuits, how many nose mask and hand sanitizer for teachers? How many for pupils?
For now, we are repeating what we did earlier: 3 for teachers and 3 for students. If for any reason any teacher got less than 3 or any teacher receives less than 3, they should let their district directors know. And once they alert us, we will quickly resolve the problem.
Okay, this one says all the time they give these assurance and it doesn't work. Look, some schools don't even have the teachers. 2 teachers for KG 1 to basic 6. How will they control them? Not even water at the school, no toilets. Okay, when you send these kind of messages, you have to give me a lot of details because you don't mention any school in particular. There's no district, there's no region. So if you're watching it, I know that you are. Kindly give me more so that I can provide it to him. This one says, how do we deal with group activity in class? Okay, we've dealt with that. Is it true that school duration will last for 6 months without vacation and midterm from Senyo Danu in Volta?
Which school? We are running the semester system for senior high schools. And there's a maximum of 16 weeks per semester. We intend introducing semester to the junior high schools, and they will run the approved period. Of course, with the junior high schools, we have even made provision on the calendar for midterms.
Okay.
I have the calendar here. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
There are provision for midterms.
I guess the midterm is the Easter break, isn't it?
No, that is the vacation. We have the vacation and we have the midterm. So we are very conscious of the fact that these children are not used to long stay in school. So at a certain point, even with the senior high schools, at a point, if you don't break them, they start getting agitated. So you create for midterms. We have made provision for midterms in the junior high schools.
Okay.
Who to also be running the
Which you would share with me, you said. Okay,
yes.
I want to know if GS has plans of taking the responsibility of testing any suspected COVID-19 student, I guess. Students should not be asked to go do tests themselves because we don't have money to pay for any testing.
We have never, ever asked any student since we started the phase recall to go and do a test, him or herself. Never. What has happened is that, let me assure the public that the protocols we use for the phase reopening or the phase recall are still in place. Every single school, both basic and secondary, has been mapped with the help of Ghana Secretary a health facility. If a student reports of being unwell, the teachers and the heads, the school management knows exactly what to do. They will quickly alert that health facility and the student will be attended to. It is purely for the health facility to decide how to manage that student. We have never asked any student to go and do a test on COVID-19. Never, ever. And it will not happen this time.
All right, this one says, any plans for, will there be some kind of mass testing for teachers and pupils? We're here again. Also, I believe now is the right time GS should practice the shift system or double track system to reduce crowding at schools and dormitories. From Rashid Mohammed Nouri in Wa. Are you regretting scrapping?
No, you see, shift system comes about because of some challenge. Inadequacy of facilities lead to shifts. Nobody will ordinarily run a shift system.
I benefited, and I have to share the story again. I benefited from the shift system, and I tell you what, if there wasn't a shift system, I don't know how I would have gone to school. Because I needed to support my mother. So if you go in the morning, you come and support in the afternoon. If you go in the afternoon, you go to school in the morning. That kind of thing.
At the same time, there were children who were in the afternoon shift, and when you meet them, they will tell them I'm in the morning shift. When they were in the afternoon, they will tell them I went for morning. So they were also at the same time that you were benefiting, they were at the same time there were some students who were negatively being affected by the shift system. But shift system comes out of necessity. It's out of necessity.
Such as the one that we're in.
The one, for example, you see, I told you that we are asking the district director to deal with specific cases of overpopulation.
Does it mean we could possibly see some schools doing the shifts?
It's possible. It's possible. If there is no other facility, but the children must be taught, it will be done.
Okay. I guess we're coming to the end of this conversation, but I see more messages, so let me just quickly run through. Any plans for day students who commute from home to school to ensure safety to and fro?
When we recall the senior high schools, the purely day students run as they continue as day students. All what we do is to enhance the safety protocols so that we can then capture them and monitor them closely. But they will continue to be day students.
Okay, this one says, in the community that I am now, as a newly posted teacher, no one seemed to wear the nose mask, or not even the elders. How sure are we that these students would put it on to school? And if they fail to do that, what can I do to make sure they wear? Because I always do. Now, that's a big problem.
It's a big issue that goes beyond the education system. But we believe that the children can even be agents of change. You see, when the students come to school, they are more likely to listen to their teachers. So with constant education, encouragement, and motivation by teachers, they will wear them. And they will even carry the message to the community. So we believe that if even we succeed in getting them to appreciate the need to wear their mask, they will educate their parents and their relations, and they will then in turn also wear the mask.
Okay, this one says, will the government provide one hot meal to JHS students when school resumes?
To be honest with you, let me not make any categorical statement here. I knew that it was done when we recalled the second year students. But with this reopening, let me get back to the authorities and get back to you.
Yes, sir. And this one says, this is Mono Junior Jami says, how do you monitor the kind of play the children involve themselves during breaks to avoid touching themselves all over? And then 2, how often will the temperatures be checked?
The temperatures will be checked on very regular basis. But of course, we won't say every 1 hour check or 2 hours, but we leave that to the discretion of the school and its authorities. But in terms of the first question was about the
monitoring the play,
the play
during breaks.
Yeah, see, if you remember, I've told you that for the elderly ones, for the little bit elderly ones, we are not too worried. But with the kids, with the KGs and the primary 1 and 2s, they must even learn through play. They must learn through play. At the same time, you want to limit their contacts. How do you do that even during teaching? How much more during playtime? That is where the skills and the professionalism of the teacher will come into play. And we believe that with the type of teacher that we have and the training that they have undergone, as many as people who know how to manage these children, we will succeed. Okay, in wrapping up, I know that you at Manche Agbona, let me say, yes, Accra Business District, with the campaign to get children back to school. How is it going to happen on the ground? In terms of Manche Agbona or in the school? In terms of Manche Agbona, and then what's the rollout plan? From there, where do you go? As I told you earlier, this is going to be a little bit different because normally lunch is before the action. But this one, as I've told you earlier, the action has already started. Already trained all the 16 regional teams. We are currently training the district teams, but we need to launch it nationally to draw people's attention to the campaign, so that when people come to you, you will appreciate why they are there and what they are doing. And so that's what we are doing today at Manche. It's just the national launch. We will after we have launched, then the actual exercise which has been going on will continue in the communities and with the parents and the students. All right. Well, sir, I thank you so much for your time. This is a conversation that we'll be having with all the necessary stakeholders. So who knows, I may come back to you. You're most welcome. Before Monday. You're most welcome. Mr. Anthony Boateng is a Deputy Director General, Ghana Education Service. We've been talking about the reopening of schools, the concerns that some parents, some students, and some teachers have out there, and I've been sharing your questions with him. Hopefully, your question has been answered. It's just the first in a series of conversations ahead of the reopening on Monday. From his office here at the Ghana Education Service, my name is Mama V. Owusu-Abaji. Back to you, Ben, in the studio.